Hello and welcome to the ADM Investor Services Weekly Market Kickoff. Please note that the views and expressions or opinions expressed today here are solely those of our guests and should not be construed as the views or opinions of ADM Investor Services or Archer Daniels Midland. Today's panelists are Alan Bush, our Senior Financial Economist, and Mark Soderberg, our Senior Ag Market Specialist. Starting with Alan. When will the FOMC start lowering its Fed funds rates, in your opinion?
Okay, well, it appears not at the next meeting, the March 20th meeting. There's only an 8% probability that the Fed will be cutting rates by their usual 25 basis point increment at that meeting, with the 92% chance of no change. And there's only a 37% chance that the Fed will be cutting at the May 1st meeting. And so this has been moved out from what we had seen over the last 3 or 4 weeks as far as the timing for when the Fed will be cutting rates. So I would not be surprised to see the Fed waiting until maybe the July 31st meeting, even though the consensus view now still appears that the Fed could be cutting at the June 12th meeting. So prospects of easier credit from the Fed continue to be moved farther out into the future. I think this will be a trend that will probably continue.
All right. What is the outlook for the U.S. economy compared to the economic growth prospects for Europe and Asia?
So it does appear that the U.S. economy will probably hold up relatively well. In fact, that is the reason for the Fed likely to be slow to cut rates. So with the U.S. economy apparently a bit more stable, I think the economies of Europe and Asia will probably weaken, and I think they'll weaken at a more accelerated pace. So that would suggest that interest rates in Europe and Asia will probably be cut more quickly.
All right, Alan, and last question. What potential market moving reports are scheduled for this week?
Okay, well, we don't have a lot, but we do have a very important Wednesday release of the minutes from the January 31st FOMC policy meeting. And then on Thursday, we'll have jobless claims guessed at 216,000. The February purchasing managers composite predicted to be 50.1. And then also Thursday, January existing home sales predicted to be 3.98 million, and really nothing of consequence on Friday. So it looks like the main report, the most potentially market moving report, will be the FOMC minutes. That would be, of course, tomorrow.
All right, thanks, Alan. Moving over to Mark. Mark, what do you attribute the early strength across the agricultural space to?
Well, first off, we are oversold. The March corn has carved out new contract lows here. 7 out of the last 8 trading sessions leading up to the President's Day weekend. Old crop soybeans late last week also traded down to their lowest level in nearly 9 months, while in wheat, all 3 classes carved out new contract lows here within the past week. Speculative traders, they have built up rather sizable short positions here across the ag space. In corn, money managers' short position has now swelled to over 314,000 contracts. That's the second largest short position ever reported. If you take into account what happened Wednesday through Friday of last week after the Tuesday deadline for the CFTC, we're probably sitting on a new all-time record short position. In soybeans, money managers now report to be short nearly 135,000 contracts. That's the largest since May of 2019. So when we get positions to these extreme levels, we're always vulnerable to short covering rallies. So far, we just lacked the trigger to initiate that. So what I think is what triggered it today here was China coming off of their Lunar New Year celebration with some fresh purchases of Brazilian soybeans. And secondly, this morning, the USDA did confirm the EPA Administrator Michael Reagan will be joining USDA Ag Secretary Vilsack at the Commodity Classic on March 1st in Houston. This is also the date the EPA will be updating its model that measures the carbon intensity for biofuels, and that's something that's very key to corn-based ethanol and renewable diesel and qualifying for tax credits in the production of sustainable aviation fuel. So this is the one thing that I think could spark or stimulate some sort of a short covering rally or rebound.
All right. Can you give us an update on the South American crops?
Yeah, harvest in Brazil has been moving along at a rather rapid pace. It has reached 32% here as of late last week. That's above the historical average of 26%. Harvest is being led by Mato Grosso, their largest producing state, where Progress Air has now reached 2/3 or 65% done. Progress is likely to stall out a little bit later this week as heavier rains move across the northern growing regions, in particular the northeastern part of the country. Their first crop corn is now 29% harvested, and that's also slightly above the historical average of 26%. Their second corn crop is 59% planted, and that's well above the 40% it was a year ago. In Argentina, crops there will likely get into full harvest swing here by middle to the end of next month.
All right. Mark, last question for you. What other events will drive agricultural prices this week?
Well, there's really not much on the calendar this week other than our routine weekly usage figures. We're almost 4 weeks removed from the next USDA WASI report, and then we've got the more important stocks and acreage report at the end of March. So we'll really be focusing on South American weather, see if we can start to see some narrowing of the wide range of production forecasts that currently exist. And of course, we'll be monitoring the macro events, in particular the wars in the Middle East and in Ukraine, to see if there's any further disruption to global trade and of course the financial markets, to see if there's any change in expected policy from Fed funds and its impact on the U.S. dollar.
Great, thank you both. Remember, the views and opinions expressed today on this video are solely those of our guests and should not be construed as the views or opinions of ADM Investor Services or ADM. If you would like more information about our brokerage services, please visit admis.com. Thank you.